Good morning, good morning, good morning. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and you are breathing. Today is Thursday, June the 13th, 2024, and I would like to welcome you all to This Is Just a Thought with Stephen Corner Gay. Hope everyone's enjoying their Thursday or will enjoy their Thursday. One more day before the end of the work week. Can't beat it. Can't beat that. Can't beat that. We're almost there, folks. We are almost there. Don't give up yet. Don't give up yet. Hey, hit that like and subscribe button along with that bell icon so you can get notified when I drop these podcasts. Keep you in the loop. Like I always say, there's going to be a lot of interesting topics. A lot. Some you may like, some you may not like. But hey, we're going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it. And like I always say, hey, get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think about the material I am presenting. Is it good, bad, ugly, disgusting, despicable? Do I need to continue on or just shut up? Let me know. Hey, I'm pretty thick skinned. I won't bite. I will not bite at all. So yeah, hit that like and subscribe button along with that bell icon. Won't hurt me one bit, will not hurt me one bit. All right, today's word of the day, fruition, which means a state of being complete or fully realized. Fruition. I know a lot of things are going on in your life, but I hope all those things that you hope, prayed, and wished for has come to fruition or will come to fruition. Always a good feeling. Always a good feeling. Hey, before I go any further, I, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. I got to start writing things down. I believe it was this Thursday, Wednesday was the 12th. Yeah, Tuesday was June the 11th, and that was the anniversary of This Is Just a Thought. And I forgot. Sue me. Call me an old fogey. I forgot. So this makes now, wow, 4 years since I've been doing this podcast. It originally started out on Anchor, which is a audio form or version of for podcasting, and it's ran through Spotify. You might be able to find some more over there, but I left it alone, and I went totally over here to YouTube, which I stand at now after today, 96 videos. So this makes here, wow, all in all, I have over, wow, maybe 400, close to a little bit closer to 400 and a half of podcasts in 4 years. Not tooting my own horn, but it's amazing. It's like I said, with fruition, all your hopes and dreams and aspiration, I hope they all come to be complete and fully realized. But I go a step further. It's amazing what you can complete once you set your mind and heart to it. And you enjoy doing it. And that's what I do. I enjoy doing these podcasts. Don't get much response or ridicule. I mean, I may get a few little slight stern glances and stares for those that know me and see me out in public. But I really don't get that much feedback, so I just continue on doing with what topics I enjoy talking about, which is any and everything. Not so much religion or entertainment, but mainly what's going on in the world as it relates to politics or socially. That's usually where I'm at. But yeah, this makes 4 years of doing This Is Just a Thought. So get in that comment section. Hey, let me know what you guys think, like I said, about the material that I cover. Is it worth it or is it not? Or maybe I should switch gears and go to something else. Maybe this doesn't float your boat or tickle your fancy. But hey, 4 years. Wow. Started doing podcasting, I want to say, right before COVID. And of course, you know, COVID came with the quarantining and isolation, and then I caught COVID, and members of my family caught COVID, so I was quarantined. I said, well, I might as well continue on with my podcasting. Hey, like I always say, COVID has some good and it has some bad, and made a lot of folks stop and realize, yeah, I got a job and I'm doing this and that or whatever, and I'm doing fairly well, but all that can be gone at the drop of a dime and I'm just a regular old guy or girl or female just working. I don't have anything for myself. That's what I realized. That's why I started this podcast. I realized, hey, I really don't have anything for myself. All I do is go to work, pay bills, and come home. I don't have anything to do. I'm not running the streets like that anymore. So, hey, this is it. This is it. So, all right, let's move along here, man. The weather, of course, the heat. Good goobity goop. It ain't even got as hot as it's going to be. Today, of course, it's going to be in the mid 90s with a little bit of that heat index. But tomorrow's the real test. You're going to see how good you are, how strong you are tomorrow. It's going to be 95 degrees flat out with a real feel of 100 with those heat indices. So tomorrow's it. That's the bottom line. That's it. If you can't stand the heat, they're strongly advising that you do not go out unless you have to. And for those gentlemen down there in Pinehurst that are playing that U.S. Open, I'll keep a prayer out for you. Stay hydrated, fellas. Stay hydrated. I mean, hey, and if you're out working in this heat, hydrate. Of course, wear your little sunscreen. Put something on your head also. This heat, it ain't playing. It ain't playing at all. So tomorrow's going to be 95 with a real feel of 100. Good Lord. I got to be out in it. I got to go to work. Money to be made, mouths to be fed. Ain't no way around it. Just take the necessary precautionary steps and measures to make sure that I'm all right or remain all right. No heat exhaustion or heat stroke. Like I said yesterday, man, we haven't even got to summer. It's not even summer yet. That's about another week and some days away. We're still in the spring. What are you going to do? It is that time of year. It just is. And if that's not bad enough here in North Carolina and much of the Southeast, and really even out on the West Coast, because they've been having some pretty hot days also. The rain. I know you guys heard about those flash floods in Miami, of all places. Miami, and those flash floods, they are wreaking havoc. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they said they're going to have some more rain today. Wow. Flash floods. You know what the old saying is with that? When it starts raining fast and it starts to flood, turn around, don't drown, don't drive through the damn water. Should be really common sense. But a lot of folks, I could halfway see if you have one of those big trucks, one of those big Dodges or Fords or Chevys or GMC or whatever. You got one of those, you probably think to yourself, I got a truck, I can go through it. But if you got a regular car, a Honda, why would you go through that water? Why? Just why? That totally never made sense to me. I've always gone around. I've never gone through it. I just won't. I refuse to. That's just me. I don't have a small car. I have I guess you would call it a mid-size old SUV. Even with that, I won't trust it. I will not trust it. I'll turn around. I'll take the time. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't got to be nowhere in such a rush that I would risk my safety and well-being, my life, driving through water. Water that once wasn't there anyway. Yeah, the roadway is up under it, but any and everything, that water could be flowing swiftly, or that roadway could be now gone. It could have been washed away. And you right along with it. Sometimes you got to think. You got to stop and think. Is it really worth my health and well-being and life, possibly, to drive through this damn water? No, it ain't. No, it ain't. Hey, before I move along, hey, one more little quick thing I heard, and I meant to say something about this last week, actually. It's within the last few weeks. I don't know if many of you have heard, if you've been watching the news or your social media feeds. Surely you have heard about the number of shark attacks we've been having at the public beaches here in this country, more specifically here on the East Coast. And there have been some shark attacks, quite a few, and some folks have lost parts of their limbs. But one thing that kind of struck me as odd and downright idiotic, and not trying to be funny or be an arrogant, you know what, but after the last shark attack, I believe it was right at last weekend or somewhere around that, it came out that officials and some people in the public were asking what could have been done to stop these attacks. Stay your ass out the water. I mean, not being a jerk, but gee, common sense. I mean, have you ever seen a shark at a stop sign? No, because they don't dwell on land. So why are you in that water? Why are you in that water? And then when something happens, there's this outcry and outrage and say, what could have been done to stop these horrible shark attacks? Stay out of the water. I ain't no scaredy cat, but when I go to the beach, I ain't going in that thing. I went in there one time waist deep, and it wasn't really waist deep. It was just the waves were coming in, and that's about it for me. So it's really just covering my feet. If I get in up to my knees, I'm coming back out. I just am. I'm not trusting it. I'm an old Navy guy, and I've seen some things in that water in my brief tenure in the United States Navy. So that's why I say I stay away from it. I don't go in waist deep. I don't go swimming. I don't go surfing. I don't go boogie boarding. That ain't my bag. That ain't my cup of tea. I stay away from it. So my answer to the question, the $1 million question, is how could these shark attacks been stopped? Stay out the water. I mean, stay out of it. You already know the sharks are there. It's that time of the year. They come out when the water's warm. They're feeding. They're feasting. They're chasing other little fishies in the water. Stay out the water. That's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you. All right, let's move along here, folks. Like I said, I wasn't trying to be funny. It just struck me as kind of odd that it was really the $1 million question, and there was actually some thought given about it, that you could actually stop a shark attack in the damn water. What do I know? Maybe you can. I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe you can. All right, let's move along here, man. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to eat every damn word I ever said about this NBA Finals because my mouth has been shut. I've been slapped across my mouth. The Boston Celtics now lead the series 3-0. Ain't no coming back, Dallas. They beat Dallas last night 106-99. Celtics are up 3-0. It's a sweep. And tomorrow night at 8:30, they play once again in Dallas. It's a sweep. Now, if you listened to me yesterday, I said that, hey, Dallas may get hyped and get them one because they're playing at home. And Dallas came out and they were playing pretty good. They just were. Till they weren't. They fell behind. They got back up. They fell behind. Got back up. But they never got up. The largest lead I believe they had, it may have been close to, well, I think it was over 15 points or something like that. That was the greatest lead that they had throughout the game. Other than that, it was like by a point, maybe 4 or 5 points, and then the Celtics would come out, and that was a wrap. Yeah, it's a sweep. No team in NBA history has ever came back 3 games to none to win a series or an NBA championship. So it's highly unlikely. Stranger things have happened, but it's highly unlikely. But the kicker for me, the surprise of the day or the night, Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics finally showed up. And he was all over the place with 31 points. Brown ended with 30. Derek White came along for the party with 16. Jason Tatum finally showed up. Porzingis, wow, he's out. Re-injured that calf. And they were saying that he's listed as day-to-day. Well, at this point, it's pretty much a wrap. So I would go ahead on and say he's going for the series. And even if that, by some strange happenstance, this series gets extended out a little longer, I don't anticipate seeing him come back. And if I was the coach and the coaching staff, I wouldn't bring him back. He's too valuable to run the risk of him. He's already re-injured that calf. To have him quite possibly out even longer than the 18 months they're predicting for him to get himself back together, he could end his career. So I just wouldn't bring him back until he's fully ready. But he was out, and I, like you, I know many of you said to yourself, because I found out when I found out last night, right before the game, watching the pregame show, Porzingis was out. I was saying to myself, okay, Dallas, you got a chance. That the real spark of that team, Porzingis is out. You can run away with it. And they did come out. They were running and gunning, baby. They were hitting on all cylinders. They were flying around, hitting shots, hitting threes, hitting jumpers, getting rebounds, blocking shots. They were. And it looked like it was going to be, of course, Porzingis was out. It looked like the Mavs were doing what they were supposed to do and finally got it together because Kyrie Irving looked good. He finally stepped up. I got to admit, he ended with 35 points. And Luka, of course, Luka does what he does, but Luka ended with 27, but he fouled out. Got in foul trouble. He's hurt. I got to be honest. You can tell he's hurt. I know they said they were giving him a shot for his ribs, but he's hurt. You can tell. He just can't. You can tell he's not moving the way he used to move or is used to moving, and it's showing. But quite possibly what could be the final game is tomorrow night at 8:30. Would like to say, hey, at least extend it out to Father's Day if you can, Dallas. Get a win tomorrow night for me, please. I have something to do on Father's Day. Surely the NBA wouldn't sell us short and wouldn't extend the series out to Father's Day. Now, would they? They may not have no choice because Boston is moving and grooving. I ain't on Boston sack, but I gotta admit, they are moving and they are looking good. Gotta admit, I gotta eat my words. My bag, Boston Celtics fans. They are that team. I just didn't think Jason Tatum was going to do too much, and he really hasn't. But last night, hey, he answered the critics. He silenced the critics. Shut my mouth. Slapped me across the face. He showed you he won't be played with. We'll see. Maybe see if he can continue tomorrow night. The guy's a little bit too inconsistent for me to hitch onto the bandwagon just yet. He just is. He just is. All right, let's move along. Man, protests, anti-Israel protests are heating up once again in New York, where they never ended, but they're heating back up, and it showed yesterday. A group of protesters took over a subway car in New York. In the subway, they had to be broken up by police in riot gear. Then there was some more protests. They spray painted red paint on a museum that was dedicated for the survivors or those that lives were lost from the invasion on October of last year in Israel that started this Israel-Hamas or Israel and Palestine conflict. So they went around, they hijacked a subway car. They spray painted or poured red paint all over this museum. They also spray painted or spread red paint all over the home of the director of the museum and the members on the board, and dropped red paint in the street and graffiti everywhere. I believe it was a red upside down triangle. I guess that's, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they said that was showing dismay for those in the blood of, well, the red paint is a result of the, what they're saying is that stands for the blood of the Palestinians and those that have lost their lives in the Gaza Strip. Now the New York mayor called it, of course, he condemned it. He said it was a direct act of intimidation and it will not be tolerated. But The guy that's the head of the protest or leads this group, he said, hey, it was a pretty peaceful protest. He didn't see anything wrong with it. He said, hey, it was a peaceful protest in comparison to what's going on in the Gaza Strip and what has been happening for decades with those from Palestine as it relates to Israel. So he saw it as a peaceful protest. Well, what is that, the prelude? What are you saying, that it's a peaceful protest in comparison to what it could be, what you guys could do? Maybe that's what he's saying. Like I've said numerous times on this podcast, the few times I've talked about this conflict with Israel and Palestine, I don't stand on either side. I'm not pro-Palestine or pro-Israel. I'm not anti-Israel or anti-Palestine. I'm just not. Like I told you guys before, to me, it's extremely unfortunate. I would think after all these years, I'm 50, they were fighting before I was born, and I'm 50 years old. I would think after all these years, we're in the 21st century, they could surely figure out a way to get along, but apparently they cannot. So much so, what's going on here in the United States now with this, well, it wasn't protesting to me. It seemed like the act of vandalism. And it was vandalism. You destroyed the museum. You destroyed the home of the homes of the director and members on that board. That was vandalism. And then you threw paint on the street in front of the homes of these people on that board and the museum director. It was vandalism to me. I don't. I guess it's all in a matter of perception. If you call it a peaceful protest, you're trying to make a statement. Maybe it was peaceful to you, but it wasn't. It was vandalism. Especially when you guys took over that subway car. What was that about? I often say about these protests, and that's any protest, not picking or poking fun at this particular protest, but all these protests, I often say, and I believe wholeheartedly, that when you guys protest, yeah, I understand you're trying to get your point across, but you're also screwing over people that are just trying to go about their day-to-day lives. Guys took over that subway car. I really didn't catch what time of day it was, but a lot of folks use that subway to go to work, come from work, to go out and handle their day-to-day business. And you guys are down there protesting, so you say, or a peaceful protest. I don't understand what gets proven when protests turn into vandalism or flat out acts of violence or riots. This one didn't, fortunately. I just don't understand what the premise. I understand what the premise is and the reasoning, but I don't understand how you get to the point that you're saying that not only am I going to be disruptive, but I'm going to vandalize and riot and yada yada whatever to get my point across. Like most things in life, when you do that, your point never gets across. It never gets heard. It's just seen as and upheld for what it is: violence, vandalism, destruction. Whole point gets lost, I would say. Then again, maybe that's me. I'm always out on that proverbial limb, and I really haven't invested the time and thought and energy into what's going on over in the Gaza Strip. Like I said, I'm 50, and they were fighting long before I came along, and they still haven't figured it out in the 50 years I've been on this earth. Hey, it is what it is. All right, let's move a little closer to home here, if I can. Now, this is really not been talked about, not like I think it should. And ain't no conspiracy nut job theorist or whatever, however you want to word it. But I don't know if any of you guys have heard. I heard it earlier this morning, and I really haven't been able to find any articles or anything anybody's talking about. I just found that one nationally known news outlet talking about it. But outside of that, I really haven't heard anything. What's going on in Cuba? Well, apparently, Russia is holding naval military maneuvers off the coast of Cuba. And it has docked several of its heavily armed naval ships and a nuclear submarine has been docked in Cuba. Uh, now, according to this news outlet, it said that, hey, Russia hasn't conducted military drills in this hemisphere in 16 years. Even though we all know Cuba, it is a communist nation or communist island, it has direct ties to Russia. This is, we know, we always have known this. And yeah, Russia does come from time to time and does conduct military exercises, but it hasn't been done in 16 years. So, if you guys think back, and if you guys think back to just last week, when I told you that the United States and the Biden administration gave the okay for Ukraine to use U.S. military grade weapons that the U.S. has sent over to them to invade or invade, to just go over the Russian border, but they couldn't invade, they couldn't fire rounds into Moscow or the Kremlin. And Putin came out once more because he said it at the beginning of this conflict when he found out the U.S. was trying to get involved. He said any involvement for the U.S. will be seen as a serious act of aggression and war, and he would respond with all the force that he has. Now, in my old simple mind, I forgot all about Cuba. I thought he was going to launch a major offensive in Ukraine and Russia or whatever, wherever he could, to show the U.S. he wasn't playing. But he has brought his military to the U.S.'s bottom step, Cuba. Cuba ain't that far from Florida, tip of Florida. Just ain't. Don't mean to sound like a conspiracy nut job theorist or to get you guys all scared and upset, but could this be the end result from as of what he's seen as a strong provocation from the U.S. for getting involved in this conflict with the Ukraine? Makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, hey, maybe he was thinking and saying to himself, like I said just a few moments ago, oh, you guys forgot that I rose with Cuba. Let me show you something. Rallied up the naval brigade, sent them down to Cuba. We're going to do some military maneuvers, drills. That's a show of force. Just is. Russia hasn't been in this hemisphere doing any drills in 16 years. And now all of a sudden, less than a week later, after the U.S. government, the Biden administration give the okay for Ukraine to use military grade weapons to fire off into Russia, going across that border, he sends several heavily armed naval vessels and a nuclear submarine and docks them in Cuba. It is what it is, folks. It's going to be what it's going to be. Of course, like I said, the U.S. hasn't said anything. I haven't found anything about what, in their response to this. The news outlets, the major news networks or whatever have you aren't talking about it. Maybe I'm just blowing things out of proportion. What do I know? Well, a duck's a duck, ain't it? If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So, hey, take it for what it's worth, or take it and view it how you want it. Flip it around, do whatever you got to do to it, or whatever you want to do with it, or just ignore it, sweep it under the rug, or throw it back over your shoulder. Hey, but something's brewing. We all know, if we know our history here in the United States, we all know about the Bay of Pigs during the Kennedy administration, and how that was perceived as a major threat by the U.S. that Russia was down in Cuba once again running military maneuvers. Hmm. Then again, like I said, what do I know? It could be me just rambling. But it was very interesting when I heard it this morning. I said, "Oh, this first thing that thought popped in my mind. This is what that fool is going to do. Isn't it an act of intimidation? Yeah, you bet your bottom dollar it's an act of intimidation. He ain't sent him all the way over here just to play around. He's sending a message. I told you guys not to play with me. I told you not to get involved in this. This is a matter for Russia. This is our problem. This is our conflict. We're going to deal with it the way we see how and see fit. And you don't need to get involved. The U.S. has gotten involved so much to the point that they're not only giving them weapons, they're giving them the okay to fire those weapons, missiles, whatever, what have you, into Russia. Less than a week later, that happens. Mm, mm, mm. We'll see what happens. Pray. Like I said, I'm not trying to get you guys all up in arms, get you scared. This is just something you may not want to sweep too far up under that rug. You may want to keep your eyes and ears open, see what's really going on in this world we are living in. It's a crazy world. Crazy world. The craziness continues. Just does. Whether it be those protesting the war in on the Gaza Strip, or whether it be what's going on down in Cuba now with Russia, it's a crazy world. It just is. So we got, hey, for me, I pray. Like I always tell you guys, I pray. If not, I would be as loony as could be. I just would. So keep praying. If you're a praying man or woman, keep praying because we need it. Lord knows how this thing's going to turn out. Russia's down in Cuba. Well, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to skedaddle today. I'm going to make this one short and sweet. Hey, and as always, I want to thank all of you for lending me your ears this morning. Continue to like, listen, follow, share, get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think about these topics I'm talking about. Let me know what you think about what's going on in Cuba with Russia, showing its military might and will with the Navy. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm just overthinking. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe they do military drills, but it is not on a regular basis because according to military intelligence and military personnel and the government, they haven't been down there in 16 years. And now they show up. They show up. Like always, I keep you guys posted on that. Hey, once again, thank you all for listening to This Is Just a Thought with Stephen Cornegay. Amen.